we had a wonderful event on Monday with our grand opening of Customer Service Week. And our customer service manager, who is with us today, Marva Campbell, her brainchild was to have a specific event dedicated to some of our esteemed elite stakeholders. And that is to say, in particular for our missions overseas, the representatives here are from PICA, Passport Immigration Citizenship Agency, the Registrar General's Department, the Ministry of Education and Youth, as our very, very important stakeholders. We have a very, very close relationship with them. We are working towards making it even better. The idea is to exceed expectations above and beyond. We want to make our customers happy. We want to ensure that we serve them. Our mandate here at the minute, one of our mandates at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade is to serve in particular our diaspora overseas. And so the idea to have a stakeholder forum for these particular stakeholders is super important. We view our partners, the entities I just mentioned, PICA, RGD, and the Ministry of Education and Youth, as our very important stakeholder partners. And so we thought that this was an appropriate time to bring them into our fold, so to speak. And in this regard, I want to say that I want to introduce another very, very special guest who happened to be on our island this month. And it's our Honorary Consul, Dr. Diane Austin Bruce, who is our newly appointed Honorary Consul based in Australia. And we thought it very important to invite her here, or to have the opportunity for her to come here. And it fits in perfectly with our customer service theme. We want to ensure that the persons who have volunteered to help us overseas are fully equipped to help us to serve our community. And it is just such a pleasure to have you here, Dr. Bruce, because we want to make sure that you are properly equipped, not just saying, you know, it's not just about an appointment, and the fact that you have put yourself forward to help us in that community. It's all the way in Australia. We don't have a diplomatic representation there. And we have people in, as you know, Jamaicans are everywhere. And so that we can have a face-to-face training opportunity for Honorary Consul Bruce. We're very happy to have that face-to-face connection. And we look forward to sharing in a great partnership moving forward as we celebrate this week and beyond. So this is just a brief introduction to let us remind everyone why we're here. And I'm going to now ask our Senior Customer Service Officer, Yannick Amir Cummings, to bring welcome as we move the program forward.
Ambassador Esmond Reed, Undersecretary, Trade Department. Mrs. Deli Vassell, Director, Customer Service, Passport, Immigration, and Citizenship Agency. Mrs. Anastasia Francis, Manager, Islands Records Office, Registrar General Department. Ms. Marjoriana Clark, Senior Education Officer, the Ministry of Education and Youth. Mrs. Delia Gillins McBean, Assistant Director, Consular Affairs Department at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade. Dr. Bruce, Honorary Consul. Mrs. Lisa Bryan Smart, Moderator. Mrs. Marva Campbell, Customer Service Manager. Senior Directors, Deputy Directors, Heads, members of staff at the Ministry, and those joining us online. Good morning, and a warm welcome to you all. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade Service Excellence Week 2024. And in particular to this important Stakeholders Information Forum. We're thrilled to have you with us today as we come together to focus on the services that play such a critical role in the lives of many, both here and abroad. At the heart of our ministry's operation is the Customer Service Branch and Consular Affairs Department, which serves as a vital connection for individuals seeking essential services such as birth and marriage certificates, citizenship applications, passports, as well as the authentication and apostille of documents. Our aim today is to provide clarity on these processes, ensure that you, our valuable stakeholders, are equipped with the knowledge and tools you need to make your transaction with us as smooth and efficient as possible. We understand that navigating government procedures can sometimes be overwhelming, and we recognize that many of you may have questions or concerns regarding these services. This forum is designed with that in mind. Our goal is not only to address your questions, but to also instill confidence so that moving forward, you feel empowered and informed when engaging with these processes. We have a dedicated team on hand today, ready to share insights, updates, and answer any specific questions you may have. We're here to help you to understand the how and the why behind each step, and we hope that by the end of this session, you will leave with a greater sense of clarity and assurance in the services we provide. Once again, I thank you for joining us, and I look forward to an engaging and informative session. Let's make today a valuable opportunity for us all as we work together to improve the services that affect so many. Thank you and welcome once again.
Very much, Ms. Amira Cummings, our Senior Customer Service Officer. I now have the great...
Oh, Ambassador Reid, come to the center.
Oh, well, I'm...
To move. Oh, you have to go all the way down there.
No.
All right.
Yes, I have the pleasure of introducing Ambassador Esmond Reid, Undersecretary for Trade. He's representing the Permanent Secretary, and he will bring brief remarks on behalf of the Permanent Secretary.
Madam Moderator, Mrs. Lisa Bryan Smart, Mrs. Marjoriana Clark, Senior Education Officer in the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information, Mrs. Deli Vassell, Director Customer Service at PICA, Ms. Nastasia Francis, the Manager for at the Island Records Office of the Registrar General's Department, Mrs. Delia Gillings McBean, Assistant Director for Consular Affairs in this ministry, other colleagues from the ministry, those joining from overseas and those online. Colleagues all, a very good morning. Please allow me to add my own words of welcome on behalf of the honorable ministers and the permanent secretary to our distinguished guests who have joined us from some of our key partner agencies. I also wish to extend a very, very special welcome to Dr. Diane Austin Bruce, the newly appointed Honorary Consul of Jamaica in Australia. Welcome. We are certainly grateful to our partners for their dedication and commitment to service and for being willing to work patiently with us, even when we send 10 urgent requests from London and New York at 5 minutes to 4 on a Friday afternoon. We are proud to once again celebrate Service Excellence Month and recognize where we stand as a ministry and as a public service in the year 2024. This year's theme, Elevating Service Above and Beyond, challenges us to transcend the already high standards that we have established and to find new opportunities to deliver superlative service to our expanding constituency of internal and external customers. I have seen some figures, for example, which shows that for 2023, we really did a lot of work. You know, I mean, it's not only the fact that we had nearly 5,000 passport applications coming from the Consulate General in New York, but we had almost 260 applications from Haiti. And we all recognize the challenges that our sister state Haiti is having, but we were still able to process so many applications from a location like that. So the work is quite diverse, and that doesn't include the additional services regarding pension payments, legalization, and so on. So we're called upon to attain these higher levels of service delivery, even as we continue to face multiple resource constraints, and every day is a new test of resilience and our natural creativity as Jamaicans. This morning, we will delve into important aspects of the work we undertake as a ministry in partnership with and on behalf of other ministries, departments, and agencies. Everything we do either augments or detracts from the perception of a public service that is expected to help make someone's life better. Some will say that very often we are given basket to carry water, and that we are daily required to make blood out of stone. If that were not so, how else would one explain the situation where an applicant comes to renew a passport with luggage in hand, having discovered that the old one expired while on the way to the airport? Let us use today's conversation to reaffirm those elements that help to underscore what we do well, even as we strive for new ways to work faster, smarter, and achieve greater efficiency without negative implications for ourselves or those with whom we engage. The MFAFT and its missions abroad will always go above and beyond to deliver service of the highest caliber, and we are confident that with the continued support of partners such as those gathered here today, we will continue to exceed expectations. My very best wishes for excellent deliberations today and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Reid. We can always depend on you to add light and vibes to all of your presentations. We thank you for your kind words of welcome. Now it is my great pleasure to invite Mrs. Deli Vassell, the Director of Customer Service at the Passport, Immigration and Citizenship Agency. Mrs. Vassell is a household name in the Consular Affairs Department, as well as every single mission overseas. So she's a household brand name at our ministry. And I welcome her to make her presentation on the application, renewal, and replacement of passports and citizenship, renunciation of citizenship, areas of work in our missions overseas, and we look forward to her presentation. Thank you, Mrs. Vassell.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for that welcome. I am going to be speaking about the services of the Passport, Immigration and Citizenship Agency. Now, PICA, as we all know, PICA is an executive agency that was established in 2007. We currently operate under the umbrella of the Ministry of National Security, and our three primary focus: we do immigration services, both at our nation's border as well as overseas, to include visa services. We administer Jamaican citizenship for all qualifying applicants, and we also issue a travel document, which is a passport meeting our highest integrity that meets international standards. Now, the suite of services from PICA. We will be familiar with a regular passport and citizenship services. and the immigration. But there's also the arm of the surveillance team, and that supports all our operations where we do investigations for persons who may not have a valid ID. We carry out our vetting to ensure that we can verify the identity for those individuals. Now, in addition to having a passport, we also issue emergency travel documents. And these are for situations where an individual might be overseas and wish to come home and do not have a valid travel document, as in a passport. So the individual can visit the consular office with the regular identification to obtain travel documents to come home. We also issue seaman certificates and other travel permits to non-Jamaicans. For our citizenship services, we offer services to include descent, where we can verify citizenship through descent, marriage, or naturalization. We also do restoration of citizenship, registration of citizenship for Commonwealth, as well as for minors. And we also do citizenship in cases of doubt. And this is where an individual would have known for a fact that they are from Jamaican birth or their parent is from Jamaican birth. However, documentation is not evident or cannot be supported. And again, we will rely on our investigations and surveillance team to assist in verifying documentation to authenticate and validate the citizenship in these cases. So the suite of services offered by PICA is wide. Some are known and some are not known. But in all instances, PICA thrives to ensure that its citizens and its Jamaican citizens receive the service that they need. Now, we have, for the last 2 or so years, added some, we would say, value-added services to enhance the services, not just to our local customers, but to also persons in the diaspora. We have increased and expanded the services offered by our contact center. We now have a customer relationship management system. And what that system does, it ensures that persons can communicate with PICA even outside of working hours. It also provides an avenue where customers can send an email, they can call directly, they can speak to our chatbot without even having to interact with a PICA representative. It can provide some amount of automation, it can answer some frequently asked questions, it can also provide some amount of information in regards to a customer's application without having to interact with a customer. Without having to interact with an officer. We have also introduced our new e-passport, and the e-passport has basically provided an additional form of authentication and security for our travel documents, whereas for the regular passport, it is usually just scanned and the details are verified at immigration. With the e-passport, the customer's information is stored electronically and it makes it more difficult for it to be defrauded. In Jamaica, if you come, you will see where we have expanded our suite of offices. So whereas customers will usually just turn up at our 25 Constant Spring Road location, they can now go to 7 locations island-wide. We have recently opened an office in Portland. We have an office in St. Anne's Bay that does full service, whereas you can apply for citizenship, immigration, and passport services. We've also refurbished our Fairview location, and that too is a full service offering. Our Mandeville location also does full service offerings, and we also have a location in Maypen that does passport services only. In addition, we have our Waterloo offices that does citizenship and immigration, and we are still at 25 Constant Spring Road offering our passport services. So we have expanded our suite of services across the island, making it more reachable to our customers. We have also expanded our offerings through our Access Jamaica program. So some persons in the diaspora would have been involved in our Access Jamaica program. And what does this do? We take what we offer, the services that we offer locally, to the persons in the diaspora. So we're taking our services mobile to the diaspora. We offer passports, we offer immigration through unconditional landing, and we offer citizenship through marriage or descent. We also take photographers and we provide notary services. Now, when a passport is ready or when a citizenship document is ready, it is usually couriered directly to the applicant. So what the Access Jamaica program does is create a higher level of convenience for our customers in the diaspora to be able to access our services without having to come to Jamaica at their convenience. Now, if you have passed through our immigration or airports recently, you would have seen as a Jamaican coming through where you're sent to our e-gates. In addition to the kiosks, which have also increased, we have recently introduced e-gates at our Norman Manley Airport, as well as our airport at the Sangsters International. This allows for easier travel of our Jamaicans through the airport without having to go through the hassle with which our foreign nationals would have gone through. So instead of spending an hour, usually a national from Jamaica can go through the airport in under 20 minutes. Now, bringing it closer to home, we offer our local mobile services. So for our residents who may be in some remote areas, or for persons who are having an event and would like Pika to participate and offer services, we also take our services to our local customers. So we are not just at our offices. In addition, we take our mobile offering, both our cashiers, we accept applications at all areas, especially in some of those remote local areas. So we continue to expand our suite of services with value-added services. Now, in terms of our passport services, we have also enhanced some of the services, whereas it makes it more convenient for our customers. And let me start with our online passport portal. For persons in the diaspora who have a machine-readable passport and want to renew, if there's no change to that documentation, that is, there's no name change, or you've never been divorced or married since receiving the passport, or if it's not a replacement passport, which means it is in your possession, you have the opportunity to apply online for your passport. We also have the simplified passport form, and this too is for persons who you had a machine readable passport before, which means everything in your passport is a typed written passport and we can access it through our machine database. It's not a handwritten passport. So once your passport looks like what is on the screen here, then you have a machine readable passport. If you have this passport, you are an adult when you got this passport, and there's no change to the document that you're renewing, you can also use our simplified passport form. What are the benefits to the simplified form? No JP is required, no notarization is required. When you take your photographs, it doesn't need to be notarized. Instead of filling out 3 pages of application form, you fill out 1 page of application, and you can take that into the office. So we have simplified the passport renewal process for our adults. We have also facilitated, in some cases, our emergency processing of applications from persons in the diaspora. So from time to time, we would be getting requests for emergencies based on the need. For example, someone needs to travel for a funeral and there's an urgent need for a travel document. There is no stipulation in regards to emergency processing. However, PICA will facilitate based on the need once a verification is done, and these are usually done at the discretion of PICA. We have also added our courier service. Again, if a customer has an urgent need for a document, we can offer courier service. This will require, however, the customer to pay that fee, and we will remit the document directly to the applicant overseas, locally, or wherever they're stationed. Now, in Jamaica, at some of our offices, we offer expedited service, but I want to take you to our office at Constant Spring Road, where we do same day. You would have heard earlier in our session where persons will show up at the airport with a passport that is expired with the expectation to travel. Now, in these instances, they're going to come to our office at Constant Spring Road, and we can produce that book for them to allow them to travel same day. We also do next day service and 3-day services at our Constant Spring Road offices. So in addition to our value-added services, we have also increased and enhanced some of the opportunities to facilitate and make our passport service more user-friendly and more attractive. For our citizenship services, we offer local expedited citizenship services. So customers can go to any of our offices where we offer full service in Jamaica and request an expedited local citizenship service. And this is usually through descent. For marriage, however, there's no expedited processing for that service. We have also increased at the offices in Montego Bay, Mandeville, St. Anne's Bay, and Kingston. Customers can go to those locations to apply for citizenship. Once upon a time, you would have to come to that office at Waterloo Road to apply. Now, if you're in Montego Bay or if you're in Savlamar, you can go to our office in Montego Bay to apply. So we have made it convenient for our customers to go to some locations which are spread across the island, get their citizenship applications processed. And for citizenship, I must say we also, in some cases, facilitate emergency processing. Now, these are usually done discretionary based on the need or the urgency that is determined. It is not a regular service, however, PICA can facilitate depending on the nature at that time. Now, let's look at some of our processing times. The processing time will change depending on the service or depending on where the applicant submits the application. Let me touch on our overseas applicants. So for persons who submit their applications overseas through on our consul or consulate offices, it will take 20 business days, and this 20 business days starts from the date it is received at PICA in Kingston. So the transit time from the missions to PICA is usually not accounted for, but what we guarantee is that from the time it gets to PICA in Kingston and it is compliant, it will be processed in 20 business days and returned. For our local customers, we would have touched on our same-day services in Kingston. For our regular offices outside of Kingston, we do offer expedited as well. They can get their passports done in 7 business days or 14 business days. The processing time for our citizenship services, starting with our overseas customers. Now, once you submit your application for citizenship, once it reaches PICA in Kingston, we will guarantee 25 working days for your citizenship document to be processed and returned once it is deemed to be compliant. If you are in Jamaica and need an expedited citizenship, we can do that within 15 business days and return to you. And that, I must add, is for our descent applications only. Now, we would have had from time to time applications coming primarily from overseas, and usually we're not able to process applications. What we have done is to identify some of the main reasons why an application can be deemed non-compliant, and usually this prevents us from proceeding with the submission or the preparation of the passport. Usually, for mailed-in applications that are mailed directly to our consulate offices, the application forms are not completed properly. And not completed properly can mean various things. It can be missing a signature, an entire section could be missing, for example, or an applicant could have indicated that they're married at one section, but at the section that asks for marriage information, that is missing. Or there could be a section that requires a signature that is missing. We've also seen cases where an ID is not presented We've also had instances where photographs are not suitable. Now, case in point, I will recommend and suggest that on our website, you can choose our photo checker option, and it will assist you in determining whether or not a photograph meets the required standard before it is submitted. So you can visit our website, go on our online portal directly and click on photo checker. You upload your photograph and it can guide that process. We have also seen cases where birth certificates submitted are inconsistent. That is, the name or names on the birth certificate has a different spelling from the name that is on the ID. And for PICA, we are going to match the name on the birth certificate with the name on the ID, and it must have consistent spellings. So in these cases, we are not able to proceed if the names are inconsistent. There are also cases where applications will be received, and at one section that requires the adult applicant to sign on behalf of the minor, we would see where the minor would have signed that section. And what this will require is for the applicant, as in the adult applicant, to re-sign a form and return to PICA. So these will hold up or delay the processing of the passport applications that come from overseas. And this is just a summative view or a bird's eye view of some of the most common errors that will deem an application non-compliant where it cannot be processed. For our citizenship applications, some of those main errors, again, spelling on the birth certificates are not consistent. There are instances where we will receive applications for descent, and what we will need to do is match the name of the parent's birth certificate with the name that is on the birth certificate of their child. And in these cases, there is either a misspelling of the name, or there are cases where a middle name was present on one and missing on the other. If there is inconsistency with these documents, it will deem the application non-compliant, and it cannot be processed until the documentation has been corrected. There are also instances for our citizenship applications where the ID, again, does not match the name that is on the birth certificate. And these documents have to be consistent in all cases. So what we want to ensure and recommend is that before you submit an application, ensure that the names on birth certificates are consistent with the names on the IDs before it is sent. Now, when we receive applications, I would have mentioned our customer relationship management system. And what we have started is to communicate directly to our customers using this channel, because it allows access to the customer's information. It allows them to check on their application even outside of our opening times. So once we receive an application that is not compliant, we will send the customer an email directly informing them that their application is not compliant. It will tell them how they can submit a documentation, whatever is outstanding. What we are going to suggest and recommend when you send your applications, please ensure that you put an email address on your application form, because this will allow us to reach you directly, quickly, and it will allow us to proceed and address any issues regarding your application. Now, from a customer's perspective, how can you contact us? We have several options, and most of these options are directly related or linked to our customer relationship management system. Now, as a customer, you can send us an email directly, and our email address is support@picahelpeu.freshdesk.com. Now, this, once you have sent the email, you have automatically created an account with us at PICA. And once you have an application with us, you can check the status of your application. You can send documentation to us through this channel, and we can receive and upload. So we recommend that you use our channels of customer relationship management system, because that will help us to quickly address any issues with your application. Customers can also chat with our bots even outside of working hours. Once you go on our website is www.pica.gov.jm. There's a green icon with our Pica logo in the middle. Once you click that icon, it directs you to our chatbot. You can ask questions, you can check on statuses, and once it reaches a stage where it's no longer able to assist from an automation point of view, it can direct you to an agent. Customers, again, can also go on our website and create a ticket, or you can create a query. So if you have a complaint, if you have a question, you can create a ticket directly from our website. Go to our website, select the button that says Contact Us, and it sends you to the option where you can create a ticket. You can also call our contact center, and our contact center's number is 1-876-754-7422, or for ease of reference, it's 1-876-754-PICA. Customers, upon activating account, you will receive, what we ask that once you receive an account or an email from us at PICA, it will come from a fresh desk account. We ask and we encourage that you open and you activate that account, because once you open and activate that account, again, you have already created an account with PICA. You do not need to call us. You go on that account and you can check your statuses. We will send updates directly to that. If you have a query, you can send the query. If documentations are needed, you can send documentations directly. This Fresh Desk or Help Desk account, it operates similar to an app. So it allows you direct access to PICA without you even connecting to an agent. And it's one additional value-added service that can create the convenience for you, especially for persons in the diaspora. So we encourage you to use our customer relationship management system. I'm going to repeat our email address. It's support@picahelpeu.freshdesk.com. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Vassell, for that very complete and comprehensive presentation. I see your Honour Counsel nodding her head in appreciation. So it means it connected very well. So thank you so much for that. And I want to take the opportunity to invite members online who are watching. There will be an opportunity to ask questions. And as soon as we are ready to go to the screen, we will invite persons to ask questions. We're asking you to click the chat, to raise your hand in the chat room, and we will acknowledge you and have your question posed to the team. And what I should have said earlier is that Mrs. Deli Vassell is accompanied by Mrs. Anne-Marie Waugh, who is also, of course, an important part of the team at PICA, with whom we deal with on a daily basis. And so we are well equipped to answer all questions shortly. We will open it. Good. So just raise your hands and we will acknowledge you so that you can pose your question to the team here.
So the first question is from the chat from Joseph No Chai. Can you please share the discussed emails, and is it possible for honorary consuls to create such accounts to monitor all their applications in progress?
All right, so that's a two-part question. We can repeat the email address. It is support, SUPPORT, at PICAHELPEU.freshdesk.com. freshdesk.com. Now, once an email is sent to that account, what it means is that the email is now considered an account in itself, as in a customer's account. So we do not encourage our honor consuls or persons from the consulate offices to send emails to that account. What we ask is that the customers themselves send the email, because once the customer sends the email, they themselves can continue that relationship with PICA by checking up on the status of their email accounts. For our honor consul and persons in the consul offices or the consulate offices, I'm going to give you the email address that you can use to send an email or communicate with us at PICA. And that is mailing, MAILING, at pica.gov.jm.
Could we repeat that?
Mrs. Could you repeat it? Repeat the email address.
Just for you?
Mailing.
I'll write it for you.
Should write it again for you. Mailing.
Good morning.
Okay, Rodrigo Espejo is asking a question. Go ahead.
Good morning. I'm from Aruba Mission, where we meet the honorary consultant Taylor. Is it okay if I make 4 questions?
I can't hear.
Okay.
Can you repeat your question? You are a little low.
Yes, I have 4 questions. The first one, I used the photo checker twice, and the system said it was okay, but later on the applicants receive an email saying that it was not good, and they have to send everything manually.
What's that the photo? So that the photo was not.
He-
Twice.
You heard the question?
Yes, some photo.
They sent it twice,
Oh.
then PICA said that the photo was not good.
You're Rodrigo?
Yes.
Rodrigo, hi Rodrigo. Did you submit your application online?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So initially, I would have submitted in the presentation the option for you to check on our website. You can run your photograph, upload it, and check it through our photo checker to ensure it meets the requirement before you send it manual. What you'll need is to, once it has met the requirement or once it is accepted, you'll need to also send it with your signature page. So you'll print that page from the application and send it.
Yeah, but I did use the photo checker, and the photo checker said it was good, but later on, all the process went through, and still it was rejected by the office.
Okay, Rodrigo, just want to direct you back to the website. In addition to our photo checker, we also have on the website our specifications. So the first place you'd need to go is to our specifications. And then once your photos meet those specifications, so for example, the specifications will tell you that the hair needs to be moved away from the forehead. It may tell you that the color of your shirt, it shouldn't be light colored. So once you meet those particular specifications, what you then do is to use the checker. So using the checker in isolation of the specifications will lead you, you'll end up where your customers actually went, where you applied, the photos did not meet the standard, and then you're placed in a position to send us physical photos.
Then again, I check the specifications. I run the picture from the photo checker. They said it was good. I uploaded when it was approved by the system. But still, when we sent all the documentation, the payment went through. The system sent an email to the applicant saying that it was not good.
My question to you is, were these photos physical photos that were taken, or were they maybe sent electronically? Were they soft copies?
Okay.
Or did you scan the hard copies of the photos, or were they soft copies?
They were taking a physical.
Right.
On-site.
So sometimes what happens is that during the scanning process, it's not properly cropped, and as a result of that, it will be rejected as well.
But
So
I'm not
though it may
scanning, I'm
meet,
taking the physical picture.
right. So that's what I'm saying to you now, where you have the physical photo in your hand, you scan it to upload it to the website on the online platform. What often happens is that it's not properly cropped. So it's not positioned properly in the box. So once it gets to us, that photo will be rejected. And then sometimes you'll find that we'll reject that photo, but you send that exact same photo to us and we're able to produce a passport with it. So it's just a matter of a cropping issue at that point, and not necessarily that the specifications aren't met.
Okay, my other question is regarding of the bank draft. We have issues here with the background that they have to pay a lot of money for them. When PICA will be accepting international transfers?
International.
International transfer.
The car, the cars.
The card.
Because the bank draft for the other fees for child renewal, application by descent, all of those bank drafts are costing a lot of money. And the bank always say, why we don't do a wire transfer?
Rodrigo, are you from a consulate or one of our honorary consulates?
Yes, in Aruba.
Right.
All right, so what we can do, that is something that would have to take with our finance team. So at the end, we will take your contact details and we'll have them follow up with you to see what arrangements can be put in place for that.
Okay, thank you.
Another question in the chat. When an online application for passport renewal is submitted, this immediately cancels the validity of the existing passports. This might cause convenience or even hardship to a Jamaican national resident overseas. Might I suggest that the validity of the existing passport be cancelled at the moment in time when the renewed passport is issued and dispatched to the applicant? Thank you, Kevin Dingy, Honorary Consul for Jamaica in Malta.
Thank you, Honor Consul, for that suggestion. No, that is a system safe, or I should say a security feature of our system. What it does is prevents two passports or two travel documents to be in circulation at the same time. Now, the suggestion about having it cancelled at the time a book is issued instead of at the time the application is submitted, it will require a reprogramming of our systems, which cannot be done immediately. We are coming up with an upgraded phase of our online portal, and that can be a suggestion because it will offer more flexibility at that time. But for now, the added security to that system means once you have accepted and submitted your application, the book is automatically cancelled. That exists for now until we can change that system with the new upgrade that is coming.
Okay, Paul B. Dennis, your mic is open. You can ask your question.
Yes, thank you very much. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Yes, I'd first like to thank Ms. Vassell for a most informative presentation. I'm the newly appointed honorary consul in the British Virgin Islands. And I'm not very clear on the precise role of the consul and indeed the Jamaican High Commission as appropriate in the passport application process, particularly when a national applies online. My understanding is that, you know, you do your application online, you put your documents together, but then once that happens, it is not clear to me whether the person then sends that directly to PICA with all the documentation, or whether there's a role which we have to play in terms of receiving and then forwarding the documentation to PICA, and also in terms of collection of the relevant payments. How does that work? Are we expected to collect it? Do we collect it in cash? Is there a procedure for the payment to be made, by a bank draft, whatever? So I'm getting those inquiries very frequently, and the process is just not clear to me at this point. So clarification on that would be most helpful.
Okay, thank you and welcome, Mr. Dennis.
It's Paul Dennis.
Dennis, yes. And thanks for that comment. Now, there are two parts to your comment. The first one, we will need to arrange with you some sensitization session, and as well a session where we can get to meet and have further discussion in regards to the role and how we need to communicate. In regards to the concern about the applicants who would have submitted an application online, now for our online application, it does not require any documentation to be submitted. Everything is usually done online. If, however, there are instances where the applicants would have received an email to say their photograph was rejected. At that point, they will need to submit photographs. What customers might be doing, Mr. Dennis, is coming to you with the photograph in the hopes that you will be sending it off to PICA. So the role you will play there could be to assist them in getting those documents to us, because once the application is rejected for photograph, it automatically becomes a manual process. So we'll need the photos and the signature page to complete the application. In terms of payment for online, there's no payment that needs to be done from your end. The customer would have done everything online.
Okay, so do I understand you correctly then, that once the application is being done online, there is no need for the involvement of the High Commission or the consulate?
That is correct. That is
I
correct.
see. Thank you.
We have a question from our honorary consul.
Yes, this is not a.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
This is not a case that I've encountered personally, but one that was noted, or a circumstance that was noted to me by the outgoing honorary consul, Mr. Breckenridge, and that is when applicants based in Australia, passport renewal online, go to the online payment. It appears that the PICA form where a resident address must be put, the box for the state in which the person resides has just 2 squares, and the conventional abbreviations for the 3 eastern coastal states of Australia, unfortunately, are 3 letters. All the others are 2, but if you live in the east, which is also the largest population area, it is 3, and they've had considerable trouble getting the payment through. And in fact, Mr. Breckenridge said to me that in the end he'd directed a number of applicants in Australia to ask a relative here in Jamaica to make the payment. But I'm just noting that it's one of those little glitzers.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention. We have, I don't think I can recall a concern from an applicant in Australia with a situation on our portal. So I will have our technical team look at this and come back to you with a solution. In
addition, thank you very much. In addition, I didn't get the email address
Yes.
For,
We'll-
I can see someone afterwards and.
Right, what we'll also do is we'll make arrangements for, because what I'm realizing is that there are quite a number of honorary consuls here, and they seem to be new as well. So we will share communication as to who your direct contact persons are inside of PICA, how you can reach them both by email and telephone if needed.
Is that, okay,
First one.
you're going, okay. Okay, thank you very much for that. I see a couple of hands still up. What we may have to do is take some of those questions and share them with PICA after this event. And we will share those questions and respond to you. What this also highlights to us is that we did have a training session in October last year. We are due for another training session to sensitize certainly those who had the training, but also all the new honorary consuls. We will try and use that opportunity to do another session. And of course, there are many updates and there are many great things happening at PICA, which even those who benefited from that session, a new session is certainly due, and we will certainly share that information with you so that everybody can be up to speed on some of the developments and also those who need to be trained more. More questions? You have time for more questions?
I have a.
Oh,
No.
hold on. Can the team tell me what is it that you're asking me something I can't read? Okay, so we're going to our next session? Okay. All right, so let me thank PICA for the presentation, for responding to those questions. The services at PICA, I'm so happy to see that the new suite of services and improvements and the technology gains that we're having, they're going to make it, it's going to be a game changer, I think, moving forward. We are always very concerned about the concerns that persons have. And it's not just our customers, it's our honorary consuls, all the persons who are involved in this process. We are the face of the ministry, and it is super important for us to get it right. And we have had, and Mrs. Vassal can tell us, share with you even about the recent meetings we have had with the CEO at PICA about how we can improve and make the services better and more efficient, and a way that people really understand that we're here to serve you, and we're trying to find the best ways. There's been a phenomenal increase in terms of passport applications, in terms of citizenship applications, visa applications. We do not have increased staff, we just have more applications. And we're just trying to find a way to make the technology work for us. Some of you may know that a lot of our community, they are not necessarily, not everyone wants to go online or can go online. And so the manual and the paper applications still come in. The non-compliant is a serious matter. I am prepared to put my head on the block to say, for the majority of the times, if the application is compliant, that 20-day service happens. It does happen. It's when there are difficulties, when the applications are non-compliant, it causes all kinds of problems. So the increased features that are now available, the chat box, the support email, the customer management system that has been implemented, I have lived to see these new features implemented. I'm seeing it work, and we're trying very hard to get the message out. We've sent that information to all of our missions overseas, and I'm hoping it's filtered down to the honorary consuls, and we'll double check on that there are these new features available, and we are encouraging you to take part in that new process. And additionally, I also want to use this opportunity to say that we are making the distinction, of course, between the online applications and the mail-ins. There are some persons not mail-ins, walk-ins. You have to be eligible to the online. So if you're the people who are children or have a lost passport or a change of name, you can't use the online system yet. I think that will come eventually, but right now, those persons from those those applications have to be done through walk-in or mail-ins. But we want to encourage honorary councils in particular, those persons who are eligible for the online, please encourage them to use it. We're trying to take the pressure off of you. If they can use it, if you can insist that they use the online feature, it's easier for them, it's easier for you. And I think you can tell me if there's a better success rate. Because you have to feel when you do the online, you have to meet the requirements. You have to meet the requirements, and so you won't have this problem of the online and the non-compliant, and so that long period. So with that, thank you once again, Mrs. Vassell and Mrs. Waugh, and we look forward to making this collaboration more fruitful, even better than before, and in terms of customer service, exceeding expectations above and beyond. Thank you so much. We will use this opportunity to invite our next esteemed guest, Ms. Natasha Francis, from the Registrar General's Department. Ms. Francis is the manager for Island Records Office, and she is going to be talking about the application for birth, marriage, and death certificates from overseas in particular, and any other material that she wants to share with us so that we're on the same page as we move forward with this presentation. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you. Once again, I am Nastasia Francis, the manager of the Island Record Office at the Registrar General's Department. Let me first thank you for inviting the Registrar General's Department to be a part of this platform where we can discuss common challenges with our stakeholders and also members of the Jamaican community that are living in the diaspora. Today's presentation, the purpose will be centered around providing a comprehensive guide on how you can obtain these vital records and accessing the services offered by the Registrar General's Department, Jamaica. We would like to introduce you to our vital records, provide an overview of the birth certificate, marriage certificate, death certificate, and the application platforms that are available, as well as introduce you to some of the other services provided by the agency. Throughout this presentation, would like you to think of three things, three words at the forefront. It's quick, easy, done. Our applications have been made simple. You have the option of making an application online, in person, or the traditional way of sending an application. However, throughout this session, we are encouraging our customers, our stakeholders, to utilize the online platform that is available. In order to acquire a certified copy of a birth certificate, marriage, or death certificate, there are certain requirements that we would like to explain to you that will enable you to successfully submit an application. For the birth certificate, it is mandatory that the birth entry code is provided. This is an alphanumeric code that is assigned to an individual, and it indicates to us where in which we can locate your birth record. The child's full name is required, the child's date of birth, the child's sex, place of birth, and the mother's name is mandatory. Optional information will also assist us in locating this entry, such as the father's name. However, we'd like to point out to you, once you are registered outside of a year, that will mean that late registration was done in order for you to receive an official identity. The date of this registration is imperative to be provided to the RGD to assist us in locating your entry to provide the documentation. In order to obtain a death certificate in Jamaica, it is somewhat similar to that of the birth. The death entry code is the primary information, the primary element needed. However, a death certificate can only be obtained for individuals who die in Jamaica or Jamaican waters. And it must be noted that a death certificate can only be processed after the registration of death. The application can be submitted to us with the following information: the death entry code, the full name of the deceased, the place of death, and how the individual had passed. For death specifically relating to sudden or violent, it is important for us to note that it is the onus of the family member to follow up with the investigating officer for the necessary documentation to be sent to the coroner's court. The coroner's court will process the information and send over what is called a Form D to the Registrar General's Department for us to effect that registration. Once we receive that Form D and effect the registration, you, the family member, are now able to apply for a certified copy of this death. So a common misconception is that once the person dies in Jamaica, automatically they are entitled to a death certificate. That is not the case. The death has to be registered. One, you have to come in, or what we're encouraging persons to do is to utilize the online platform to submit the application. When a death is registered, a customer is given a burial order. This burial order is not a death certificate. It is an instruction that the death has been registered and you can now continue with the burial of the individual. On this burial order that is issued by the Registrar General's Department, it will bear the death entry code, and that entry code is what is used to obtain a certified copy of the death certificate. Now, one of my favorite copies provided, the marriage certificate. What we realize is that oftentimes the customers are already equipped with the information to submit an application for marriage. However, another misconception is that they assume that the marriage certificate bears a marriage entry code. Unlike the birth and the death certificates, a marriage entry code is not required for a marriage certificate. What is required is the marriage officer's name. Therefore, the marriage officer's name automatically is the link, is the identifier in locating this marriage. You would need to provide to us the full name of the parties. That's the bride and groom, including the bride's maiden name, the date of marriage, and the place of marriage. So now we have gone through the requirements to obtain a certified copy of the birth, death, or marriage. I'd like us to look at the steps that we would have to go through in order to apply for these certified copies online. Access to our application begins with visiting the RGD's website at www.rgd.gov.jm. Once on the website, users can navigate the application portal using the tabs Apply Now, which is at my right top corner of the screen that you're seeing, or you can select Online Application. Before 2020, our online service was exclusive to birth, death, and marriage. However, there's a notable expansion whereby the Registrar General's Department, we have increased our digital offerings to include over 17 products and services. This will include an application for an adoption certificate. You can also apply for the first free certificate. That is a certificate that is given to the child after birth, which is 2 months after the birth of the child. You can make the request online once the child was born in an hospital and fully registered. You can also submit an application to amend your vital records. That includes a late entry of name to add the father's particulars to the birth entry, or you can do a correction of error. I know that you might be saying that in order to acquire our service, you need the identifier, which is the birth or the death entry number. However, our online portal also makes available a request can be submitted for a search to be done in order to locate this information. Once a search application is submitted to us, it would take us 5 days for us to locate that entry and respond to you, our customers. Once the entry is located, you can revisit our website at www.rgd.gov.jm and submit your application for a certified copy of the birth, death, or marriage. These are the steps in completing the application. Upon selection of the type of certificate required, and we're looking specifically at the birth, death, or marriage, the relevant form will appear, which is you are seeing on the screen. The required information, that's the birth or death code, the full name of the child or the full name of the deceased must be entered and the application forms completed. For local customers, you have the option of selecting to pick up your certificate at any of our 10 offices island-wide, or you can utilize our premium delivery service with our service provider, Tara Couriers, whereby the certificates will be delivered to you at an additional cost that is paid over to our service provider upon delivery. For our overseas applicants, that's for you in the diaspora, you do not have the option of picking up at our offices island-wide. However, upon the production of these certificates, the certificate will be mailed to you via priority mail. So, upon submitting the application, both local and overseas customers, you're directed to a selection page. The applicants are then required to decide the preferred service, and for both the local and overseas customers, you have the option to continue for payment. For applicants, upon the submission of the application, both locally and overseas, they will be taken to a page to decide on the service period that they would like their applications to be processed. For our local customers, there are 3 services available online. That's the express service, which is 3 to 4 days, 7 to 10 days service, and the regular service at a cost of $4,000, $3,000, or $1,500 respectively. These customers have 4 options to submit the payment. You can continue with the payment online. You can visit any of our 10 offices island-wide where our customer service representatives are ready and waiting to serve you. The payment can be made also via manager's check, or you can choose the traditional way whereby you'll send a postal order to the RGD in order for a payment to be made. For overseas applicants, based on the delivery address submitted by the overseas applicant, the option of US dollar payment will appear. Now, for overseas applicants, you have 2 options, either to acquire the certificate on the 7-day service or the regular service, which takes 25 days. For the 7-day service, the cost is 85 US, and for the regular service, the cost is 55 US. This service is not provided on the express service to our overseas clients because we have to take into consideration the time it will take for the document to be delivered. Therefore, internally, these certificates are produced within 3 to 4 days and then handed over to the service provider for delivery to you within that 7-day period. For our customers from the United Kingdom, you are required to make payment of £60 in order to acquire the service on the 7-day service, or £40 within 25 days. For our Jamaicans in Canada, a payment of 130 Canadian dollars is required, or $83 in order to acquire the certificates within 25 days. If you're not living in the United Kingdom, United States, or Canada, these countries outside, you're required to make payment of US dollars 110 for the 7 to 10 day service, or for 25 working days, you are required to pay $70. We have flexible payment methods for our overseas customers. At present, it's 2. And we are encouraging you to utilize our online platform and submit your applications online. We also accept international money orders addressed to the Registrar General's Department, Twickenham Park location. If an applicant chooses to make the payment in person, so you have submitted your application online, a reference number is provided. That reference number that you're seeing on the screen, you indicate this to us and the payment will be accepted in office, or if you choose to send an international money order. If the application is being submitted online, it is mandatory for the disclaimer to be read, understood, and accepted to proceed to payment. Once payment is made, an electronic receipt will be issued advising the reference number, the service type, the number of copies, and the amount that was paid. Now, ideally, we would like to think that we're living in a perfect world, whereby you do not need to do an amendment to your vital record. However, we have realized that a lot of our customers, a lot of our members from the Jamaica community overseas are having challenges and would need to correct their permanent record. Therefore, the RGD has expanded access to these services, whereby a late entry of name application, a correction of error, and an addition of father's particulars application can be submitted online. Now, what is a late entry of name application? This is one whereby you were registered at birth and you were partially named, or you were not given a name at all. In order to add the father's particulars, you can also submit the relevant forms online. However, it must be stated that the child must have been using the father's last name before now trying to add his particulars. If it is a case where the child was not using the father's last name, nor the mother's last name, these customers are required to visit the court for assistance, as a paternity order will be needed to instruct the RGD to add father's particulars to the birth record. You can also submit a correction of error application via the online platform. Now, it's 3 simple steps: download, upload, and submit. You are required to download the respective application form and indemnity form. The signed application, indemnity form, and the supporting documents are uploaded, and you will submit the application and make payment. Quick, easy, accessible, and completed. I'd also like to use the opportunity to introduce to you, or for those who are not aware, our Outer search services. Now, our genealogical research service has been available on the online platform since February 2016. However, we have expanded access online. We are now being rebranded to the Outer Search since 2022. Now, our Outer Search is basically the tracing of an individual's ancestry with the use of our repository of vital records of birth, death, and marriages dating back as far back as 1660. It can assist you in identifying your loved ones, tracing your ancestors, and also claiming naturalization or citizenship with PICA, as explained before. Our genealogical research service also provides support to that request. You are required to make payment for 3 hours to initiate the request, and it is at a cost of $15 US. Now, this application is also on our online platform. You will go to the website, select the section that says Island Record Office. You will see 3 options. The Out of Many search is the first of the 3 options. You would proceed to payment and then indicate to us the information that you would like to be searched. Now, the search, you can do the search in order to acquire information on your paternal or your maternal lineage of the family. However, the information that you input is crucial. So you'll advise tell us what it is that you know, what it is that you would like to find out, and we're asking you to utilize the comment section. So it can be a case that you'd like to find out your maternal lineage, but all you know is the name of the mother, the year that she died, and how she died. Tell us all the details that you know within this comment section. Once the payment is submitted, an automatic response will be sent that the payment has been received. After which you will get an email indicating the turnaround time and also the researcher that has been assigned to your case file. It takes just 4 to 6 weeks for the genealogical research to be completed, and the information will be submitted to you via email. Now, since 2022, you are no longer required to come into our office or to send a family member to make an application for a search of a recorded deed or will. This service can also be obtained on our online platform. A deed is basically a signed document, usually pertaining to real property. Now, these deeds that are recorded in the Island Record Office would include a deed poll, a partnership agreement, a prenuptial agreement, declarations, and be reminded also we are the custodians of all wills that have been probated through the courts, which are submitted to us for safekeeping. If you are in doubt and would like to acquire a copy of this deed, you will be required to submit a search application. This can be done online in order to get the relevant reference number to enable you to get a certified copy. Now, this reference number is referred to as the libel and folio numbers. Once this information is provided to you, you can return to our website and apply for an authenticated copy with the use of the libel and the folio number. Now, the RGD, we are constantly taking an outside-in approach to improving our business process, where we are looking at the needs and wants of our customers and also taking the recommendations and see how best we can tailor our products. Therefore, since May 2024, we have initiated the printing of birth certificates in Braille, which is a significant step towards inclusivity for individuals with visual impairments. However, this request is not limited to these individuals. Anyone can make a request for a certified copy of their birth, death, or marriage record, well, not your death record, for a family member's death record, and it can also be provided in Braille. It is not at an additional cost to you, the subject, neither does it lengthens the turnaround time for processing. There are some common challenges that will exist when submitting an application. This primarily is due to incomplete applications. Oftentimes, we will receive an application for a birth, for example, whereby the birth entry code is not known. However, that nice customer will put a fictitious number and we cannot locate that entry. So we are reminding you that you can submit your search applications online to enable us to acquire the relevant number for you to get a certified copy. A well-prepared applicant can mitigate these issues through preparation. Any individual that is facing challenges, they are encouraged to reach out to us for assistance, or you can utilize our information on our website, particularly the product offerings and information database, or the frequently asked questions. You can contact us at information@rgd.gov.jm, by Facebook at rgd.jamaica, Twitter or Instagram at rgd_Jamaica, or by our telephone lines, WhatsApp line, and text line. This year's theme, Elevating Service Above and Beyond, is strategically aligned to the strategic direction of the agency, Digitally Bold, placing emphasis on inclusivity and improving the accessibility of our products. There are so many services just a click away. You no longer need to ask an agent or family member to come into our offices in order to acquire these services. Utilize the online platform that are available. It's 17 and counting, and we have a surprise coming for you soon and very soon. I thank you for listening to this presentation, and I will now take your questions.
Thank you so much, Ms. Francis. And we will now go straight to the question and answer section. And we are inviting everyone, those who have questions, to just raise your hands in the chat. We'll acknowledge you, take your questions. You have a question while we wait? Okay. Let's start with our Honorary Consul while we wait for the hands.
Hi, good day.
This is a comment and a question. I had an unusual case of a man of Portuguese citizenship, a permanent resident of Australia, formerly married to a Jamaican woman resident in the UK, divorced, remarried. now wishing to return as a citizen of Portugal, where, however, he's entered as a single citizen, whereas now he has been twice married and once divorced. And the Portuguese government is requiring that he produce a birth certificate for his wife, with whom he is no longer in communication. Now, through various ways, you've actually answered my question. Through various routes, he had collected all the Register General's information required, but for the entry code. And now this is so valuable. So there is a procedure you
Yes,
can
there
go
is.
through. The thing that made me slightly awkward about this case, I wondered what the position of Registrar General is to someone other than the person concerned or a direct relative applying for a birth certificate.
Well, according to our Records Office Act, all our vital records are public records.
Public record.
Which would mean that anyone can, once the information is available, the customer advisors of the information and the unique identifier, or by virtue of a search, we can produce a certified copy. However, there's something particular that you made reference to, the marriage, the divorce, and that he remarried. The RGD also provides a no impediment search that will sum all the marriages together.
Oh.
So once that person was married in Jamaica or living in Jamaica,
No, neither marriage was in.
neither marriage was in Jamaica.
Yes.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah. Can I have a follow-up on a slightly different matter?
No problem.
A gentleman, a Jamaican gentleman, wrote to me recently. I'm resident in Sydney, he's in Melbourne. His mother had died in St. Thomas. She owned a small piece of land there, which he and his brother were inheriting. And he sent me a form requesting my signature. It seems to me a form for a justice of the peace, a notary signature. Now, I want, the first question is, am I an appropriate person to sign that?
I would need to know the details of the form to say whether you're an appropriate person to sign.
It detailed that the land had become the property of the two brothers and not of the mother who had died.
So therefore, was it a case whereby it was gifted to them before
Yes.
she died? Okay, so in that case, the deed of gift would have been recorded with us at the Island Record Office. And on that basis, you can sign the document because you would have been provided with information, supporting information to say that they are now the owners of that property. If it is a case whereby it was willed to them, the will would have to be probated through the courts and administrated. Therefore, a certified copy of the said will can also be provided to you, which will show that they are the owners of that property now.
Thank you for that. One final part. The brother wrote to me under a name that was not the name that's on the form he sent to me. Apparently he's a successful DJ in Melbourne, and he wrote to me signing off and giving an email under this name. So I immediately wrote to him and said that the name in your letter is not the name that's on the form. And he wrote back and explained that he was a DJ and so on and so forth. And I would have said he was a foolish DJ to have done that. But on the basis of by email, simply by email, seeking a clarification of identity, should I proceed?
Is it that he has changed his name legally, or this is just a pet name whereby he goes?
Well, I think it's a pet name.
Once you can establish that it's the same person, I believe you can proceed. However, what we would like persons in our diaspora to note, and particularly those in the US, when they become a citizen, they often change their name without us in Jamaica getting that information. Whether you have changed your name in the US or otherwise, it is imperative that a name change be conducted with the Registrar General's Department. What that allows, it allows us to update your permanent record to say that it is one and the same person and you're not going by your birth name and you have proceeded with a new name and have changed your name. So if the relevant documents can be provided to you, if it's a case where it was not a legal name change and it's a pet name, also called name, once he can show that it's one and the same person, you can proceed. However, we normally encourage those persons, once you change your name, conduct a deed poll, register that deed poll with us at the record office so that your permanent record can be updated and there's no questions and there's transparency as it relates to your name.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We don't have any questions online. And they're checking, okay.
So Earl Taylor asking the question and answer section, thank you, but when?
But when for what?
I guess it's a surprise.
Oh, the surprise! Can't give out that information as yet. Can't give out that information as yet. But we are trying to put every single product that we have on our online platform to make it more accessible to you, the customer. So you no longer need to walk in an RGD office or send a family member or pay an agent to acquire these vital records. You can do it from the comfort of your homes, from your workplace, from your bedroom. You don't need to come into the Registrar General's Department.
May I answer the question? You must have a card, a debit or credit card to do the transaction online.
Yes, you do.
What if I don't have one?
If you don't have one, you can submit to us the reference number of the application that you did online. Send it to us with an international money order to cover the cost. We will produce a certificate and then send it back to you by priority mail.
So you don't take Jamaican dollars?
Yes, you can. But how is it that you submitted your application? Overseas or local?
Locally.
You can come into any of our 10 offices island-wide, or you can send a postal order.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ms. Francis. I'm just so excited about this week and this month because, I mean, from Pika, we have new kiosks, we have e-gates, and now we're hearing about the service from RGD where it's quick, easy, done. You just download, upload, and we're done. Submit, and we're all good. I am hearing or seeing that I have a question online. Another question?
I am not sure if it's a
Question or comment?
question pertaining to Ms. Francis, but Earl Taylor is asking if a transcript of today's presentation will be available when and how to participants.
If our presenters can indicate to me right now, I suspect the answer is yes, that we can share the presentations. Okay. So as soon as our event is over and we have access
And the
ready.
recording,
Yes.
and it is being recorded.
Yes, and it's been recorded. So we'll send that to everyone who was online.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so thank you so much, Registrar General's Department, birth, marriage, death, deeds, wills, everything and more. Thank you so much. We appreciate your presentation, and like Pika, you are such a valuable customer, such a valuable partner, and again, for our overseas, the image overseas, image here, the importance of these services that are extended and provided to our customers is absolutely critical. So thank you very much for that. We appreciate it. Our next presentation will be from It's an in-house presentation from Mrs. Dahlia Gillings McBean, who is the Assistant Director in the Council Affairs Department. Mrs. McBean, amongst her several assignments.
What about Ministry of Education?
Oh my goodness.
Education.
Yes. Okay, well, okay, switch around, sorry. Sorry, our third presentation is from Mrs. Marjorie Clark, who is the Senior Education Officer at the Ministry of Education Youth. And Mrs. Clark is accompanied by Mrs. Williams, who we are very familiar with in our office at the Consular Affairs Department, and they will do a presentation on authentication of school documents for overseas purposes. Let me invite Mrs. Marjana Clark to give her presentation. Thank you.
Good day, everyone in the room and those on the online platform. Thank you for that introduction. My name is Marjana Clark from the Ministry of Education Tertiary Unit, and with me is Miss Michelle Williams.
Good morning.
Okay.
So in the words of Miss Bryan, Jamaicans are everywhere. I heard you made that comment this morning. And so for those who are abroad and need their academic records authenticated for either work or school educational purposes, the Ministry of Education through the tertiary unit is able to assist with that process. And so the Ministry of Education and Youth provides support for the authentication of educational documents, such as certificates, degrees, transcripts, and other documents. The process is really simple. Original documents, along with copies to be authenticated, are to be presented to the tertiary unit, Ministry of Education and Youth. It's located at Building 3, 224 National Hero Circle, Jamaica, West Indies. Applicants will be required to complete an application form. Now, that form requires a list of documents submitted for authentication, your contact details for those who are applying, name of the third party, if there is somebody who is going to collect the documents on your behalf. And so these are required in order for you to complete the application successfully. To validate transcripts from primary and secondary schools, contact will be made with the originating institution by email or telephone, requesting that they verify the authenticity of the document. The institution will be required to respond by email, and so we don't take word of mouth on the phone. If we call and ask, do you know of this person who attended your school, for example? Do you know of the information that we have received from the individual is correct? We won't just say to you, the school that we've called, yes, we are taking your word for it. We require an email be sent to the ministry, either confirming or denying that the information that we are querying is so. So the institution may also opt to send a copy of the original document to the tertiary unit. So instead of sending an email, or in addition to sending an email to say, yes, we're verifying that this person did attend the school and the information is correct, they can also send us a copy of the transcript or the documentation from the school that proves that the student actually attended the school. The validation process will be completed once a response has been received from the institution. So we will make the contact and ask them to respond to us. Special notes: defaced original documents. And by defaced, we mean where these documents have already been used by some other institution and have a signature or a stamp affixed to it. We cannot use those documents to authenticate the process. Transcripts being presented for authentication are to be presented in a sealed envelope. The transcripts must not be older than 6 months. If signatures for authentication are to be affixed to original documents, the applicant will be required to make this request in writing, and the letter is to be addressed to the permanent secretary, and of course we know that is Dr. Kassan True. The letter should include the home address, email address, and telephone number of the applicant, and must be signed and dated. Authentication of original documents is done at the back of the document. Authentication of qualifications from overseas universities. So these are for persons who have entered universities, have gotten accepted. The university will often ask for a transcript. So for overseas degrees or certificates, these must be validated by the related transcript, meaning that whatever certificate you're presenting is not enough, it cannot stand alone. We need a transcript to also verify that the information is in fact true. So the transcripts may be, one, presented in a sealed envelope from the institution. Remember, we're emphasizing sealed here, meaning that if you open the envelope, we can no longer trust that the document is authentic. And so we're emphasizing the point that whatever document you present to us must come in a sealed envelope from the institution you would have attended. Second, it must be submitted by email sent from the institution. And so we're saying, in addition to you sending us or bringing to us a sealed envelope from the institution with the transcript, we're also going to request that an email be sent from the institution requesting same. So in both instances, transcript must be sent directly to Dr. Tamika Benjamin, who is the Assistant Chief Education Officer at the Tertiary Unit, Ministry of Education. Her email address is also presented here, tamika.benjamin@moey.gov.am. Other important information. Authentication may take up to 3 working days. So this time frame is affected or is dependent on the response time of the institutions. So when we reach out, we will make a call, for example, to say we are asking you to verify that this transcript that we have in fact, the information on it is correct. They will need to respond to us. So the time we take to respond to you in terms of validating the documents is also dependent on the response time from the institution. So we will make our call, we will send an email, we will do our follow-up to speed up the process. But by and large, as soon as we receive the documentation from the institution, validating or not the documents that you have presented to us, then we can proceed with the process. So the other variable that is here that will help to speed up the processing of your documents is the availability of an assigned officer, and we are most times available to complete the process. And that is it. Very short, very easy process, and of course there is no cost to our service, free of charge. Okay. So we are open to questions if there are any.
I will. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mrs. Clark. While I checked with my team to see if we have any questions online, or if anyone has a question, they can raise their hand on the chat. Nothing so far. Again, our presentations are so complete and comprehensive that persons are now experts in the field. And so I don't recall having, okay, just a second. Right, I don't recall having many concerns expressed from persons overseas for the authentication side of things. I think internally, our team has a good idea. Ms. Williams is another one of those who's a household name in our authentication unit. We recognize the signature of, just by a quick glance, and we get those documents off quickly. And I'm now understanding that there is a question online. Take that question.
Mr. Earl Taylor, your mic is open. Feel free to ask your question.
Is he muted or?
Yes, sorry about that. There are a number of institutions that have disappeared in Jamaica for one reason or the other, tertiary institutions. In such a case, how do you authenticate a certificate or transcript that was issued when it was functional?
The person would have had a certificate, an original document, and so they would present that to us, and along with a copy, we would sign on the copy most times, if that's what they are requesting. But they would have had a document received from the institution. We would also check to see if that institution was in fact registered at that time.
Thank you.
Okay. Do we have any other questions online? Okay. All right. On that note, what's great about what is happening is that some of you may or may not know that the apostille and authentications we've been doing for years. We've sort of graduated to the apostille service, which we are of course going to have a presentation on. But before that, I would just want to say that that's one of the areas that we want to move towards in terms of the technology. We are scheduled to participate, albeit only virtually, on a meeting this month, where we want to be exposed to the possibility of e-apostilles, so that we are not dependent on the issuing of the paper apostille documents, but we may be going towards the e-apostille electronic. It will take us a while. We're just getting ready to see how it works in other jurisdictions, and just to get a feel of what would be required, and to see how it would have impact on the process as we do it now. I suspect the process will be the same, because we still need the documents to be authenticated and certified and legalized where necessary. And hopefully, the process gets even more efficient as we move forward with the technology. So I appreciate that presentation. Again, the presentations will be available, and we will share them with you as soon as possible. And thank you once again, Mrs. Clark and Ms. Williams, for being with us today. Really appreciate it. Another of our valued customers and stakeholders. Thank you so much. Honorary Councillor, I don't know if you have any questions in this regard. You may not. Dr. Bruce, you wouldn't have any questions on this, would you? No. Okay, good. Okay, thank you once. Thank you again. And so we will move to our next presentation on apostilles and authentications. It's a nice segue. It's Mrs. Delia Gillings-McBean, Assistant Director of the Consular Affairs Department, and she will be giving a presentation on the apostille and authentication process. Mrs. Gillings-McBean. Need to the chair.
Hi, good afternoon, one and all. Thank you for the introduction, Ms. Lisa Brown Smart. And as she said, we're doing a presentation on the apostille services for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Right, so Jamaica
presentation is on the convention of the 5th of the Apostille Services. The official name is a convention of the 5th of October 1961, abolishing the requirements of the legalization of foreign documents. The convention abolishing the requirements of legalization for foreign public documents to facilitate the use of public documents. That's apostille services, sorry. The purpose of the convention is to obtain the traditional requirements of legalization, replacing a long, often, and costly legalization process with the issuance of a single apostille certificate by a competent authority in places where the document originates. What happened before the convention? Before the apostille processes, the public documents were submitted to the ministry to be authenticated and then they were countersigned by the consular officer in the High Commissioner, embassy, or the consulate of the country where the document would be used before they can be accepted. What's the Hague Apostille Convention 1961? This convention, which is the official title, as I said before, is the Hague Convention of the 5th of October 1961, abolishing the requirements of the legalization of foreign public documents, is an international treaty that creates a universal process for confirming the authenticity of documents from one participating country so that they can be recognized in all other participating countries. In other words, it's called apostille services. So as our previous persons, our previous panelists have spoken about their documents, the ones from RGD, the ones from Ministry of Education, when they come to us, we are the ones who will authenticate these documents for use in other countries. So the legalization process, this is a process for certifying public documents for acceptance in another country. The diplomat or the consular agent of the country in which a document has been produced certifies the authenticity of the signature, the capacity in which the person signing a document has acted, and the identity of the respective seal, stamp in which it bears. All right, there are 125 countries, contracting parties who have signed on to the Hague Convention. And here I have the link where persons can find which countries are part of the convention. There are a few countries that are not part of the Apostille Hague Convention, for instance, like Cuba, Nigeria, and the UAE. Jamaica acceded to the convention on the 2nd of November, 2020. So from that day on, we were the 119th party. We started to issue the apostilles. All right, so the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is the competent authority for the issuance of apostilles. In some other jurisdictions, there have a number of competent parties. In Trinidad, it's the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Ministry of Legal Affairs, and in other jurisdictions, there are more than one competent authority. However, in Jamaica, it is the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So in this regard, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs shall authenticate public documents originated from Jamaica, which are to be forwarded to a recipient in another contracting state, keep a record of apostille certificate issued, keep and maintain a register of apostilles, keep a database of samples of signatures, seals, and stamp, perform any other duties as may be prescribed. All right, so in terms of the official documents, these are documents originated from public authorities, and as stated before, documents, for instance, from the Registrar General's Department and from Ministry of Education. So here I have a sample of a Jamaican birth certificate. All right, so what's a public authority? As I said before, it's a ministry, department, executive agent, or any other agency of government, or statutory body or authority. So for instance, the Ministry of Health and Wellness, the Company's Office of Jamaica, or the Jamaica Constabulary Force. All right, public documents are issued by or originated from the authority of an official connected with the courts or tribunal. This includes the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution, the Clerk of Courts. There are also administrative documents, judicial documents, notarial acts, and official certificates. So documents that we mostly authenticate are vital records, for instance, birth certificates, marriage certificates, death certificates, educational certificates, diplomas, transcripts, similar documents certified by the Ministry of Education, sworn declarations, statements, affidavits, power of attorneys, court documents, medical documents issued by the Ministry of Health, or any other document provided that are duly signed by a recognized authority. I must point out that there are a number of documents that are exempt. There are times that we do get them, but I just have to point out what are exempt. So these are public documents originated in Jamaica to be used in Jamaica. So for instance, if somebody is certifying a birth certificate to be used at another Jamaican entity, we are not going to issue an apostille. It will be authenticated. Foreign documents executed by diplomats or consular agents to be used in Jamaica. Sometimes someone would bring a document issued by the British High Commission. We cannot do that. Documents created by foreigners or documents submitted by countries that are not party to the convention. All right, so for instance, an example of a document which is exempt. This is a school record from another jurisdiction. Right, so for our local clients, the local clients will come into our office, and they'll be met by our customer service agents who are downstairs, and they'll be advised on what are the requirements and what they need to do in terms of filling out the form, pay out the cashier, and advise us the type of service they'll want, which is either a regular or a rush service. All right, our overseas clients are persons in the diaspora who will either visit the consulates or missions or honorary consuls, or they can mail in the applications to our office. The clients overseas will have the option, as I said before, of sending the documents via the mission or the honorary consuls, or they can be sent to us via a courier company. A very important aspect of this is the matter of payments. We have local fees and overseas fees. The local fees, when the person's walk in, for 6 days is $3,500. For the next day's service, it's $5,000. Overseas clients, it is $30 US, 40 Canadian dollars, or 25 euros. For us, we only accept cash, manager's checks, or transfers from the missions accounts. Unfortunately, we can't do online transactions. And a reminder in terms of the manager's check, the manager's checks have to be made payable to the Accountants General Department and not to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And just a reminder that all apostille services, once issued, are non-refundable. There are times when persons will come in and they offer the service, we have issued the apostille certificate, and for some reason they don't want the document and they want the monies back, it's non-refundable. So in terms of efficient processing of the documents, we're asking persons to ensure that the documents are in good condition. This person spoke about earlier before about the conditions of documents in terms of being torn, crumpled, have other marks, and the forms are to be properly completed. Right, and in terms of us certifying documents, Ms. Clark spoke about documents of education. They have to be pre-certified by the Ministry of Education. So here we have just an example, somebody's certificate that will go, or a transcript that will go to the Ministry of Education. All right, so what we do in terms of authorization, the apostille process is just that we verify the public document to say that this is a birth certificate belonging to Jane Doe. We review the applicant's application form, we collect the prescribed fees, etc. right? Once issued, the apostille authenticates the origin of the public documents by certifying the authenticity of the signature of the document, the capacity in which the person signing the document has acted, the identity of any seal and stamp that the document bears, and to remind persons that the apostille does not have a use-by date, nor do they expire. So I'll use an example for Ministry of Education. When we get our document, we'll say that the signing officer is Miss Williams, and she is the certifying officer from the Ministry of Education. So this is an example of our apostille certificate, where you have the different items. Unfortunately, I can't see from here. And it indicates the name, the person who issued the certificate, the title, and the signature and the seal. And this is when the documents, we have documents that the information is on both sides, so we produce this document, which is called a launch, right? So when you have an apostille, what it does, it verifies the authenticity of the signature of the document, capacity which the person signing the document has, the identity of any seal and the stamp that the document bears. To point out that the apostille does not certify the content of the public document. So for instance, if we get a education certificate, we can't say that the information there is correct or incorrect. We only can certify the content of the document. We also register the apostilles, which is that we have an idea, the department, of the number, the date of the apostille certificate, the name of the person who signed it, the name of the authority of the person who the signature affixed, and the name of the person requesting the apostille. This is a requirement of the government of Jamaica, of the Act, to say that we have a register of apostilles. The department, which is two authenticating officers and designating signing officers, just to give an idea of what happened. This is a supplementary data information in terms of the amount of apostilles and authentication documents we did between the period July, August, and September. So in total, we authenticated over 1,000 documents, and this included express services, regular services, and you notice for the period of August, that is where we usually get a bump in our requests because a number of persons are going to school.
Yeah.
Right? And just to note that the apostille certificate can become invalid if the person defaces it by some way, defaces it. In other words, if it's not attached or becomes detached from the document it purports to authenticate, if it becomes illegible, if the person defaces it, or it has been procured fraudulently or by you or used for fraudulent purposes. And there are offenses. So the offenses for falsifying apostille is a person who is not a competent authority or sells, otherwise supplies or apostille certificate to any other person, who falsifies apostille certificates, who detaches an apostille certificate from the document and places it on another document that is not authenticated by the competent authority. When you tamper with the document, right, the person who is requesting authentication of a public document knowingly produces or make any use of the document containing false information, they falsify or tamper with or alters the apostille certificate or any other record relating to the apostille certificate. There are fines if the person is caught, and these fines are not exceeding $3 million, or a term of imprisonment not exceeding 3 years, or both. In terms of customer service delivery, we in the consular department, this is one of our main touch relationship between us and the public, and we assist, as I said, we assist in the authentication and legalization of these documents once the country in which they are to be used have identified them for such authentication or legalization. In other words, people at times will be calling us to find out what kind of documents, where they can go, etc. So in terms of consular service delivery, our two officers in particular, there's one who is here and the other one who's watching online. There's a clear communication in terms of the officer will ensure that the client is made aware of their apostille processes, including what documents are needed, the timelines, and the timelines for completion. In terms of responsiveness, the officers are cognizant of the view that the clients have urgent needs for the document. Inquiries are usually responded to in 1 to 2 working days. If there is a delay in a completion, it's due to, at times, a lack of response from other line agencies. There are some agencies where it's not possible for us to hear from the persons. We call, we send emails. And just to assure customers that their officers are aware that quick responses to inquiries will greatly enhance our customer satisfaction. The officers also ensure that there's a step-by-step guidance on how to prepare the documents for apostille, what is to be expected during the process, the cost, timeliness, and services and return of documents. Because there are a number of times when we have persons calling from overseas, trying to find out how to get this done. There are also concerns for some persons, for instance, persons who are in South America, it's hard for them to get a manager's check and for them to courier the checks to us or to do money, or we don't facilitate online payments. So in terms of the conversation between the customer officers and the prospective clients, all of this information is forwarded to them. All right. We have a tracking process where we track the apostilles. This is called our e-registry, and it enables the department to clearly identify the number of the completed apostille, the assigned identification number, and the signing number officer. There are times when we do a certificate and the entity wants to authenticate the validity of the document, where they send an email to us. We're able to track by going through the e-registry to say, yes, this certificate was issued and the signing officer is X, Y, and Z. Right, and in terms, we also are aware, as in terms of customer service delivery, that whenever there is an issue that arises, the delays in the receipt of a document or funds, the department has an all hands on deck approach to find a suitable solution to facilitate the customer, right? And to emphasize that this is always done with empathy and clear solutions. In terms of moving forward, Mrs. Smart-Brand advised you that we hope in our future that we can digitalize our apostille process of an e-apostille. This would provide additional assurances of the integrity of the document, the authenticity of the document, and the non-repudiation of the document. Right. We also hope that in the future we can do outside services where we can go to regions outside of Kingston and offer apostille services. And this is the end of my presentation. Any questions, I'm able to answer. Thank you.
In the chat, Rodrigo Espejo, can an honorary consulate help or request apostille locally?
Locally meaning what?
I guess.
That's in Jamaica.
Their jurisdiction.
Locally, if he can, yeah.
They are.
Repeat it.
Can an honorary consulate help / request apostille locally?
Look, can they?
No, there are two services provided, and I would direct Honorary Consul to our website. It's two processes. It's local and overseas, and we actually do have two authenticating officers. One has principal authority for the applications that are submitted from local persons in Jamaica. They come into the ministry, pay, and are provided with the service. They have an express service as well as a 5-day service. That's only for local. Those who are applying overseas, there is an overseas process where we have missions. You make the payment at the mission, you get a receipt, and that receipt is to be sent. Where are officers? They're not here. Oh, those receipts are included in the application form, because there's an actual application form for the apostille, and that is sent via courier service or through the bag or diplomatic bag to Kingston. So the honorary consul should not be applying. The honorary consul will use the overseas process for applying for the apostille. And
He said in Aruba, for example.
So in Aruba, the person would make because I know Aruba has difficulties with the payment, so actually we should probably take that one offline, because the banking system there's an issue where it's literally, more than $100 to do a bank transfer of that nature. And so there's a separate procedure for that. But essentially, the officers here have to have the confirmation that there has been payment, and the receipt and the actual application are sent via courier to Kingston. So, honorary consul, you would not be undertaking that responsibility, the actual transmission of the document. You would tell the client, you would tell them what the address is. It's to be sent to Foreign Affairs through their own courier service that they make their own arrangement with, and they would have to make the payment to you. You give them a receipt that payment was received, and that is included in their application, the document that is sent to Kingston. I don't know if that helps you. Was it online or a question?
It was online.
It was written, right? Okay. It was Mr. Taylor?
No, the honorary consul in Aruba.
Okay. Let us communicate more offline, Mr. Espejo, and clarify any other matters in terms of the difficulty of transmitting documents from Aruba. I know we have some issues with the Dutch Antilles. Do we have any more questions? No. There's a question from one of, yes, go ahead.
You had indicated that for local customers, the apostille service is not available.
No, local customers, meaning that if they want the document to be authenticated and sent to another Jamaican entity, it won't be apostille. We'll authenticate it. We'll legalize it in terms of, we'll say that this person, Natasha, is the person at RGD's office, but it's a different. It's not. You won't be issued an apostille.
Okay.
It will be certified.
Understood.
All right. So apostille certificates are issued for overseas.
Foreign jurisdictions.
Yes, right.
With that, okay, so thank you very much, Mrs. Gillingsmith-Bean, for that presentation. And I think what this exercise has shown, the presentations, is that we do have more work to do. We do need to fulfill all the expectations of our honorary consuls and all of our customers where possible. We want to, right, so we want to do more exercises like this, as a matter of fact, and again, specifically for our honorary consuls, we have had 2 conferences, virtual conferences last year and early this year. We had one in Berlin and we had one in Pretoria, where we invited our honorary consuls to speak to other and additional members of our elite stakeholders. So we had JAMPRO, we had the Ministry of Tourism in Pretoria, and in Berlin we had PICA give presentations, and we want to do more of this because we do have an obligation to ensure that all of our everyone on our team is adequately provided with the information that is needed by our customers overseas. And increasingly, more and more people are using our consulates, more and more people are using our embassies for these services, which are reflected in the Vienna Convention on consular relations. We are mandated to fulfill these requests for documents, for assistance with travel documents, for visas, for citizenship. And we're trying our very best to work with the technology, with staffing, and just improving the efficiency of the delivery of services overall. So we want to thank you all again for participating, particularly our MDAs who joined us today. It's a first, and I hope not the last, and just the beginning of a enhanced relationship as we move forward. It's super important, and we at Foreign Affairs, I should say, in terms of customer service relations, my department, Consular Affairs Department, because we're the ones dealing with most of the PICA-related services, the RGD, the apostilles, and we were chosen as a pilot department/project to see how we can improve our service delivery to persons, not just overseas, but locally. As you know, with the apostilles and the authentication, it's both overseas and locally. So this is why we're trying to improve our delivery of services overall, and we're hoping that we can get some successful or positive feedback from these kinds of exercises, which we have in the past. Our honor consuls were very appreciative for the ones that we did have the conference for, and we do want to invite our MDA partners more to these kinds of exercises so that we have a better understanding of what each party does and where there are developments in your departments. We need to know so that we can tell our people overseas that these are the new features, new developments, improvements. We want to keep them updated because they're thirsty for this information, and sometimes we're not fulfilling that purpose. So thank you again very much for that. And on that note, I want to invite our Director of Corporate Services, Mrs. Kerry-Ann Spalding, who has wider responsibility for the customer service branch. Mrs. Spalding was one of the chief architects of the customer service branch. As I said earlier, it was opened only in November 2022. And in that period of time, we've managed to set up a department. We have managed to assign persons to the department. We have completed a customer service implementation plan. We have now launched Customer Service Week, and we are about to, and I don't want to steal her thunder, but we're about to launch our Customer Service Charter tomorrow. So a lot has happened in 2 years, and in between all of that, we have had our conferences for our honor consuls to improve service delivery by sensitizing our honor consuls, sensitizing our missions to all the new developments, RGD, PICA, etc. So this is part of a wider project of ensuring that government, the public sector, is seen as a efficient, progressive, and service-oriented delivery, delivery of service-oriented. And so we're very proud to have Mrs. Kerry-Ann Spalding here to give closing remarks as we come to a close of this morning session. Mrs. Kerry-Ann Spalding, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mrs. Brian Smart, Director, Consular Affairs. Mrs. Deli Vassell, Director, Customer Service, Passport, Immigration and Citizenship Agency. Ms. Natasha Francis, Manager, Island Records Office, Registrar General's Department. Mistress Marjoriana Clark, Senior Education Officer, Ministry of Education, Youth and Information. Our internal presenter, Mrs. Delia Gillings McMead, honorary consuls online, other persons on the platform, colleagues and other visitors in the room. Good morning. It is a distinct pleasure to have shared in this session this morning, which, as Mrs. Brian Smart explained, is very vital, for us to come together in this fashion. I have learned so much. And for those of us who were already familiar with some of the procedures and the products that are offered by the various entities, it was quite a refresher. So going forward, we expect to have more collaborative sessions such as these. And on your end, if you note any need for us to come together, please initiate. You do not have to wait on us to call on you, because it is so important for us to be trained and resensitized the missions overseas, as you know, they facilitate the transfer of the documents and so on. So we act as intermediaries. But from time to time, given the workload, if you find yourself with additional resources, if you are able to extend, whether through visits to the missions or, short-term assignments of staff, it's something that we could look at. So we need to be a little more strategic in how we help each other to accomplish the respective visions. I know that there weren't many questions during the session and after the presentations, and that is because the presentations were so comprehensive and focused. And I thank you so much for being so prepared. We are really pleased and appreciative, as I said, of your presence and your contribution. So we remain open and accessible, and please keep the communication lines open, and feel free to call on us at any time. I would like to use the opportunity also to commend Mistress Marva Campbell and the team in the communications unit. Mrs. Amir Cummings, the customer service officers at the front, at the reception desk, telephone operator, and so on. They do a lot of work, and we are very grateful for their services. The HR team who helped us in establishing the unit, we are grateful also for your help. So on behalf of the team from the ministry, I wish to say thank you to all of you and have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, we have come to a close, and on that note, there's not much left for me to say other than reiterate the thanks, and we will see you soon. Hopefully we will have another session in the next 6 months, perhaps, and maybe we'll be calling on the same team or additional teams to move the process forward. So again, thank you all very much. Everyone online, thank you so much for being with us. Please spread the word. We'll send the presentations. Please circulate them as far as possible so that everyone is aware of the developments in these mega agencies that are so critical to Jamaica and the diaspora overseas. Thank you once again. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day, evening, morning, and night, wherever you are. Thank you.